Hello, I am Dr. Chandrashekhar, founder, coach, and someone deeply curious about what truly lasts. I want to explore the stories behind real impact and to help you uncover what it truly takes to build a meaningful legacy. Together, we'll sit down with visionaries, educators, and change makers, people who have walked the path and shaped lives, not just businesses. Welcome to the Legacy Blueprint. Welcome to another powerful episode of the Legacy Blueprint, where we go beyond success stories and deep dive into what truly endures: the people we touch, the lives we change, and the footprints we leave. Today's episode is titled The People You Touch: Crafting a Legacy Beyond Bloodlines. And who better to have this conversation with two phenomenal change makers whose work has impacted thousands, not by inheritance but through intention. First up, joining us is Mr. Srinivas Rao Mahankali, or as the ecosystem fondly knows him as MSR, a man who has spent nearly 4 decades building bridges between people, between industries, and between aspirations and action. MSR is a seasoned entrepreneur, mentor, and an institutional builder. He is best known as the former CEO of T Hub, India's largest innovation hub, where he led groundbreaking programs like the Lab32 and TAngel that touched the lives of over 2,000 startups. From co-founding ventures like Network Solutions, which got later acquired by IBM, and August Networks, acquired by NSEIT, to mentoring young minds at IIM Raipur and ASCI, his journey is proof that legacy isn't just left, it's built. One conversation, one founder, one idea at a time. Today, MSR continues to shape India's innovation and entrepreneurial ecosystem through advisory roles at Bower School of Entrepreneurship, Abiro Capital, SVP India, and Touch a Life Foundation. Also with us today is a visionary who represents the next gen legacy builder, Mr. Pavan Allena, a serial entrepreneur who began teaching entrepreneurship to students before most adults fully grasped the meaning of entrepreneurship. Pavan is the founder of Metamorphosis, a venture that brought entrepreneurial education to over 150,000 students across India and which eventually got acquired. He is now the force behind Bower School of Entrepreneurship, a first of its kind undergraduate institution where education meets execution and mentorship is embodied in the culture. Named as one of the India's most promising young entrepreneurs, Pavan is not just building a school, he is building a movement where teenagers are mentored to become tomorrow's change agents. Together, along with MSR and Pavan, represent two generations bound not by bloodlines, but by the belief that every person we touch is a chapter in the legacy we leave behind. Let's begin this conversation today. Welcome, Pavan, and welcome, MSR. Thanks for being on the Legacy Blueprint. This is going to be an interesting conversations because anything which is surrounding our life and leaving a legacy is always, I believe, brings out the best in us because we get to speak about certain inside feelings and emotions. So on that note, we will just keep fluid about this conversation, and it's not about a question and an answer kind of a thing. It's more about a free flowing conversation. But of course, my team has been kind in giving me a structure to stick to the framework, so I will go with that. Right. So with that, first question to you, MSR, is you've been here and in this ecosystem. In fact, I will also take this opportunity to congratulate you for the recent award on the outstanding contributor to the ecosystem. The 30 odd years or 37 years to be precise, you've been in this framework. What do you think is legacy, and how it means to you, or what it means to you to build that legacy into the work what you do?
So first of all, thank you, Chandra. Thank you for having me here for the Legacy Blueprint. I think it's an interesting format and an interesting idea. So yeah, so that's a very profound question. So I'll try and answer it, in as concise a manner as I can. See, I think all of us, have to live life with purpose, right? And I think the one book which influenced my thinking, read it a long time ago. It's a book by a guy called Viktor Frankl, uh, Man's Purpose for Meaning, right? So he was a concentration camp survivor, and he talks about, I think, the most important thing in life is to have purpose. When you have purpose, you can do many things, right? And it kind of gives you kind of guidance on what to do, etc. And it's not just about accumulating material wealth and all that, but how can you be useful? How can you give back? Obviously, for anyone who's done and been able to get a few things accomplished, there have been a lot of people who would have helped you on the way, right, to get to whatever you are. So I think we all have a responsibility to give back, right? And this sounds a little, maybe a little cliched and a little this thing, but I think all of us have to leave the world in a better place than when we came in, right? So that's kind of what kind of drives me. That I keep asking myself regularly, what have I done today to help others? How to elevate the ecosystem, how to make a difference, and if you can impact even a few people positively and make a difference in their lives, right, and a difference in the ecosystem, you can sleep well.
Thank you very much. In fact, I think that's a right way of steering this entire thing, because purpose is fundamental to anything. And as you grow, you understand the significance of purpose better and more relevant. So now moving to Pavan. Pavan, you started Metamorphosis and teaching people about entrepreneurship very early, and you scaled it to over 1.5 lakh people, students across. And now in your second avatar, if I may use the word, with Bower School of Entrepreneurship. But the common connect is one being entrepreneurship, but the other one is, have you envisioned or roped in legacy as an angle in building this particular initiative?
Absolutely, sir. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me. And yeah, so I've started the journey when I was 22 years, right? And we are all used to instant gratification, right? I mean, we want everything to be done immediately and all of that. So, in fact, when I got the first idea, I wanted to track the school buses. That's how I came into this schooling industry also. In fact, I met you with that tracking system where I wanted to track the school buses. And I wanted the result to be very immediate, right? I mean, I was looking at how many buses can take this, how many schools can take this. Can I track 1,000 buses, 2,000 buses and all? But did not see the scale because of lot of challenges with the technology and didn't have any basics related to entrepreneurship. That's when I started Metamorphosis, where why can't we introduce entrepreneurial thinking right from the school level? That's where the legacy thinking has come into place. That because I still remember some of the lectures that happened in the schools, right? I mean, not the academic content, but also certain life lessons that your teachers speak in the school and all. We still remember here now also that, I remember that whether we score better in math, physics, or chemistry, that is secondary, but the way you communicate, the way you learn English is really important. My English teachers used to tell me that. And today I'm realizing that, the way that we have to carry ourselves, the way we need to communicate is really helping our business. So that's when I thought, why don't we kind of introduce entrepreneurial thinking from the school level, so that whether you are coming up with business or not, during your course of your life, you may come up with a business idea when you are at 60 years. When you are at 45, you might come up with an idea. But still, your entrepreneurial thinking is quite strong while you're in the school itself. That's when I started. And so the common connect between what we are doing today at Bower and Metamorphosis, the vision is still the same, right? I mean, the vision is to make sure people are developing entrepreneurial mindset. Whether you want to apply it for your ventures, whether you want to apply it for your passion, it could be anything like that. So in this world of instant gratification, if at all you are thinking entrepreneurial, one of the topics that we always teach is how do you vision boarding, right? I mean, your next 3-year plan, 5-year plan, 10-year plan, 100-year plan for your ventures, right? So that impact is something that we love to create.
No, fantastic. I mean, it's a very interesting point you brought in, that we are always influenced by somebody in school. May not be the subject or may not be the concept which I'm learning, but that person, the way they impacted us, the conversations we had. I think that is where I will come back to you, MSR. Like, there are many people who come in your life who leave a mark on you. Do you remember any one such person who did that in a different way? And if you have to sum up that entire person, you will sum up by that experience of yours with him. Anybody like that?
Sure. So obviously, I think I've been very lucky, privileged to have worked with many, many outstanding people. But I think more than anything else, apart obviously from my parents, I think the one person from whom I learned a lot was a gentleman called Sudhir Sharma. Sudhir is probably one of India's most unsung entrepreneurs. Built a company called Network Solutions. I was part of his promoter team, and finally the company got acquired by IBM. He's a remarkable guy in many ways. Very good technically, very humble, very grounded. You know, and I learned many things from him. Right. The first is, I think, about A is about humility. B is about being selfless, right? And C is about how, if you put together a good team, you know, it doesn't have to be a team full of brilliant individuals, but a team of just very regular people. If they have a common alignment, common sense of purpose, they can do wonders, right? And how, when things don't go well, um, leaders should step up, take responsibility, and when things go well, it's always the team which should take the credit, right? So I think I worked with him. I knew him for about 5 years before I actually started working with him, but he was truly inspirational. And then of course I had the privilege of working with him for about 8 years, sort of thing. We of course stay in touch on a regular basis, but he impacted, first generation entrepreneur. Subsequently invested in half a dozen companies, which have all done extremely well. Impacted maybe 4,000-5,000 lives, right, in a very positive sort of way. So yeah, so
No, I think it's a nice way when somebody ends up doing what they actually do, but it makes a big impact on a lot of people. And 4-5,000 is not a small number. Pavan, what I got from MSR is about how people unknowingly leave a mark on us.
Yeah.
Right? And you have chosen a kind of a sector where you have to leave a mark on youngsters.
Yes.
Right? If I may use the word mentoring, you have to mentor them and kind of give them that platform and propulsion to take them to the next level. But has it happened so in this journey that you ended up getting mentored while you embarked on a journey to mentor someone?
Very much. In fact, I'll give you 2-3 cases also. This was in 2018. There is a guy named Shashwat Nagori. He went to one of the international schools here in Hyderabad. He has come up with an idea which is similar to parallel to Dunzo. That time Dunzo was not there. So in fact, he wanted to create, the last mile logistics and things like that. He came up with an app, and also he has got few customers already. He started accepting the payments on, several platforms like, say, small time UPIs and all. That time they were just introduced. And then he left to Canada. He's pursuing his, he was pursuing undergrad in finance back then. And then one day he just called me, right? And then he gave me the entire mapping of what he has done in the school, and then said what he is doing with his undergrad now and what kind of startup he wants to come up with. Right? And then he actually mapped the entire modules, saying that, say, I learned business model back then. Today I'm applying business model in this way. And then I got mentored by him because I really understood how the actual outcomes are actually being mapped for the curriculum what we are teaching. Right? So it is, then we started chatting and we talked about what is really working out, what is not working out. Similarly, there are many students, right? I mean, in fact, if at all you see in 2017, if at all they were in 8th grade, today they finished their masters also, few people. They finished their undergrad, they finished their masters. Few of them are already running startups. As we speak now, I'm getting an idea that I should map all the students where they are currently and what kind of startups that they're running or what kind of organizations they're leading now.
Absolutely. I mean, that itself is a big community which can give back a lot of insights. But at the same time, as you said, you end up teaching certain things with the framework in mind. But then when they apply it, they realize a lot of things and then they come back to you. And that's another way of taking things forward. And it is, again, giving back a lot of new learning to the system, to the ecosystem, where the current people who are part of that will take it to the next level, right? Good. So, moving on, both of you interact as part of your daily work, one with each other, because you work with each other quite closely, but at the same time, you work with a lot of people who are enthusiastic, energetic, and excited about a lot of things. Have you ever seen that there is this person who has a need to be heard? And how do you kind of bring that out in people? Like, we are all in the day-to-day jobs where we say that this is what I want to accomplish at the beginning of my day, and I'm so focused on it that I will keep telling this you do, this you do, this you do. We seldom listen to people, and people have a need, an inherent need to listen to be heard. How do you bring that out the best among people in your own workspaces?
Sure. So I think, Chandra, one of the benefits of as you get older, I think, is you realize that at some level, this need to constantly make yourself heard, right, and to trust your opinions on others. I think as you get older, that reduces because you realize
What is it?
you'll realize that. I mean, I'm sure. So first of all, you'll realize that that there are a few things you know, but there are also many things you don't know, right? And just because you've had experience doesn't mean that you know everything.
Yeah.
And there are people younger, wiser, smarter than you. So that's one, right? Second is, I think, as you're, like I'm a father, I'm a husband, right? And all of that, you also realize when you have two young girls, I have two young, very fortunate to have two young, lovely girls as my children. You also learn from them that sometimes just to listen, right? Many times people just want to be heard, okay? And the resisting the temptation to give unsolicited advice, right, is something which you learn as you go forward, right? And sometimes they just want to use you as a sounding board. One. Second is I also learned the power of what I call paraphrasing, okay, which is when somebody comes and tells you something, you articulate and help, then essentially many times the listener, you know is just looking for to help validate what the other person is saying, and the other person is not necessarily looking for solutions from you, right? He just wants to be heard, right? and for you to give some input, suggest maybe a different way of thinking about it, etc., and not for you to thrust an opinion and say, listen, do this, right? So I think one thing I have worked on consciously over a period of time is to try and listen. It's so easy for all of us to want to to give our opinion on everything, but as I said, one of the benefits of getting older and grayer is you realize that you don't know everything. You're not the fount of all wisdom, and sometimes just listening, this word called empathy, right? Being able to put yourself in the other person's shoes is very powerful.
Indeed, indeed. And in fact, MSR, you are being very candid in telling that as you grow old, you lose the urge to being heard. But more often than not, there are many people who use that being old and wiser and grayer as an opportunity to say that you keep quiet, I'll be the one who will be doing the talking. Right? So I think that's the thing. Pavan, you are on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
Right? So have you ever been snubbed? Like, okay, you listen, I know everything, you just listen to it. Or did you get the chance to, or what do you do to be heard, and how do you encourage people around you to be heard?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the both sides of the table because every day, I give a lot of directions to the team. But one of the things that I've learned from MSR is to be a very active listener, right? Because I know if at all your ideas are not being heard, or if at all your views are not being heard, what it feels. Because I've been on the other side of the table also after the acquisition. I was on the leadership team with about, say, 25-member leadership team. And I have a lot of opinions because I was always an entrepreneur. I never worked in any of the companies. Right after the college, I've started my entrepreneurial journey. So that 1.5 years was quite a learning for me because it was always my ideas, my validations, and my execution team and all of that. But now it is a bigger, there was a phase where, I had to kind of be executing someone else's ideas also. That time I've understood the power of active listening and also being approachable, right? Another thing to learn from MSR is being approachable, right? I mean, not having big fences to come and talk to you, right? So that is why I think he's MSR, right? I mean, yeah, so I follow two things. One is I have to be approachable. I have to be very active listener. And for my ideas to be heard, I think the way to communicate is really important, right? Right now, we are in the world where we're in the short form content model, right? I mean, maximum is you'll have active attention span of say 1-2 minutes. If at all I'm not able to get the attention in that 1-2 minutes, then no matter how much you try to explain, people will not listen to you. So I think communicating that is really important. Articulating is really important, and sharing your views in a way that other person in other person's format is really important. That is what I learned, right? I mean, today, if at all I have to communicate something to you, I need to speak in your language, right? I need to speak to MSR in his language, so that at least in 30 seconds I am able to communicate.
Yeah, and I think that is where his first point of empathy comes into picture a lot, because you said if I have to communicate to him or me, you have to talk in our language, which is basically you have to first be empathetic to what actually says the boat as far as that person is concerned, and then paraphrase or put your words in that context and then communicate. See, at the legacy blueprint, we keep talking about one important statement, and that is legacy is not something which you leave behind. Legacy is in your daily habits. Legacy is in how you make people around you feel. Legacy is how you grow people, how you build businesses, how you leave a mark. Listening, yes, empathy, or you said, how do you communicate? The art of communicating well. Then catering to the attention span, and being a soundboard. You know, we don't need to be giving solutions all the time. It is just a matter of, okay, I'm available, I'm here. You can share whatever you feel right now, and eventually in the process of sharing, you will figure out what to do. We are just that kind of a support system. I think these things bring out the leader in you. It is that which actually is missing today, or at least which needs to be consciously worked upon.
Yeah.
Because today people around us are looking for that supporting shoulder, that pat on the back. And if we can do it, I think that's the legacy we all can leave behind or add to the ecosystem or add to the people around us.
Yeah.
All right. So we have come this far. Now let's look at it from the point of view or the lens of the audience. Uh, People who actually come to the legacy blueprint ask these fundamental questions. All right, I have an idea. I want to become something. Where do I start? How do I actually take this forward? So, what are your actionable steps for them to start from where they are to take it to the next level?
Okay, I won't go with the book formula for this. I'll talk about very commonly asked questions, right, between my friends. Whenever we go out, they'll say that I want to start a cafe. I want to start a cloud kitchen. They will say, I have money, can invest in some startups. I have 10 lakh rupees. I think that cafe is doing good, can invest in them. Right? I think these are the common questions that, amongst our age group, we have. I think the first thing that if someone who wants to start a venture, first thing that they need to do is they need to first put down all the problems that they are planning to solve, or if at all it's their passion, they have to talk about whether that passion can be converted to business or not. And they should remove that entire social angle in it, right? I mean, it's my passion, it's okay. Then you have a separate way to do it, right? I mean, there are a lot of NGOs that are there, you can probably join in them. Second thing is take a sample feedback from 10 potential customers. If you want to start a cafe, first you cook that food in your home and then probably sell it in your gated community first. And then see if at all you're able to make at least 200 rupees per meal for it. Then you try to kind of, scale your, passion or the idea that you have. So in the book way, it is called lean startup canvas models and all of that. But do in a realistic way. Start an Instagram page. See if at all you're getting organic traction for it. Then you try to come to the business side of it. That is the first thing. Second thing is the mindset, right? Can you take no, first of all, right? I mean, are you resilient enough? People are going to thrash, right? I mean, if at all you go and give a investor deck, the kind of sharks that we have, right? I mean, are you ready for it? Are you ready to take no? If at all you're getting mentored, mentors will give very honest feedback to you. They might say that, you're not fit for this. You need to have a co-founder. You do not even know tech. Can you get one CTO? Are you ready to kind of share your idea or share your baby with 3-4 people? Are you, so that mindset do you have? I think these are the two things. If at all you're ready for that, I would suggest that, before you start a venture, it is better if at all you shadow one of the entrepreneurs. In your circle, there will be a lot of entrepreneurs. Just you try to kind of see their lifestyle. What time they're going to the office, what time they're coming back. Can you sit in front of a desk for 14, 15 hours a day? Do you have that patience? The minute I ask my friends, I asked this also. One of my close friends, he wants to start a startup. I asked him to come to the office. Recent times, right? I mean, come to the office, stay with me for about 12, 14 hours. One day he came. Second onwards, he went to in Orbit Mall. He said, I'll go have lunch and come back. He never came back. Right? So, that discipline, that patience, that I see today, a person who is starting at 65 years old, morning till evening, he'll still sit irrespective of whatever personal commitments that he has.
No, I think that's interesting what you mentioned. For those of us who are listening, again, as a reminder, is number one, you have to look at it from the point of view of, okay, am I able to separate my emotion from my idea and then build it in a more step by step approach? Second is the concept of do I really have that in me for lasting that duration? It is not like just do it for the sake of fashion or feel good. That's the second thing. The other one you mentioned towards the end, you said a 65-year-old who's trying to push the desk 14 hours a day. Interesting, I had this conversation and I'm reminded of that, so I'm bringing it here. We all know or heard of Dr. Velumani.
Yes.
He's 66. In fact, I was with him yesterday. And when I was dropping him to the airport, he mentioned this. He said that I have a business plan where I have to give myself 5 years of my life to make that $1 billion venture. And coming from Velumani, you can kind of take it almost for granted that it is going to be. But the next line, what he mentioned, kind of shook me. He said, I have to give 16 hours a day for the first year, 14 hours a day for the second year, 10 hours a day for the third year, 8 hours a day for the fourth year, and 4 hours a day for the fifth year. That is when it will become $1 billion company.
Yeah.
And he said that without taking a breath. He said that I know I will do it and I have to do this. This is my plan. At 66, somebody saying I'm ready to give 16 hours a day. I mean, mind blowing. Today, we look at entrepreneurs from the angle of, okay, we get carried away with the 4-hour work week book by Tim Ferriss and say that I will build a company and that's how it is. It's not that. MSR, break us one myth. We are talking about what a life of an entrepreneur is. In your own journey, in your own way of looking at people, what are those one or two characteristics or that ingredients which goes in to the pedigree of a great entrepreneur?
I think we covered it in some parts. I think, like I said, passion, patience, perseverance, ability to sublimate your ego. Okay, you don't have to be the smartest guy in the room. Right? I think if you look at many great leaders, I think one of the most underrated skills in leadership is the ability to have people who are smarter than you work for you. Empower them, give them autonomy, make them accountable, but get them to do things, right? So I would say a combination of all this. And then I think obviously you have to be a good communicator. You have to be like Pavan said, the like hard work never killed anybody, right? So so you have to inspire, right? And you have to know when to let go and when to be on, when you have to kind of step in
And take charge.
type of thing. So yeah, and I think most important thing for me in all of this, is, see, you made choices. Everything we do is about making choices. Okay. And when you make choices, you must learn to live with them. Okay. What I mean is, if you have to do 16 hours, and for example, Mr. Velumani doesn't have to do 16 hours, right? Given what he's done, he's made a conscious decision.
Yeah.
Then you might as well enjoy the journey.
Correct.
Okay. It requires you, when you say 16 hours, that means you have to give up something, right?
Yeah, a lot of things. Yeah.
You have only a finite amount of time. Okay. So it means giving up something, right? But if you really like what you're doing, like, to use another cliche, do what you love and love what you do. Okay. If you can somehow make that happen, do what you love and love what you do, chances are you'll be successful.
Absolutely. So, in fact, that kind of brings to the point that, surround yourself with the smart people around you, kind of sums up the whole context of this episode, which is, legacy beyond bloodlines. So, normally when we look at it, they look at it from the point of view of Gen 1 to Gen 2 to Gen 3 in the same family. Or today's world of business is looking at families getting collaborative and building a new thing. But the equally opposite side is what we are seeing here, where I don't think both of you are related to each other, but then you come together for a common purpose. And you mentioned somewhere before that pushing the objective forward is the right way where we align yourself. And now when you take this point of surround yourself from around you with people who are smarter than you, right? I want you to tell me a little bit about both of your equation when it comes to working together at Bower. He comes as an advisor, a mentor. You are an entrepreneur who is actually at the steering wheel. But what kind of conversation happen, and where is that you also have to accommodate him, and where is that he also has to accommodate you? Maybe you can talk about that.
Yeah. One thing is I'm a single founder company, right? I mean, that is a very toughest thing, right? That more than any other designations, right? CEO, CHOs and all. Being a single founder is a very toughest thing. That is why it is not very investor friendly setup also. But it just happened because my earlier venture also I was single founder. Now, since it is just plus to it, it is easy for me to being a single founder. So when you are a single founder, you'll have very single perception direction to the team.
Unidirectional.
Unidirectional thing to the team. I'll go in my flavor. I'll just add my thoughts to it, my vision to it. And if at all I say that let us execute it, the team will execute. If at all I say let us stop, the team will stop. So what I need to pick up is the other side of the things, right? I mean, I need to have other perception. So whenever I go to MSR, I just say that, sir, I'll just walk him through, for example, the 3-year annual operating plan. I go with him. I come up with probably certain limitations or probably over projections sometimes, right? Then he will make sure that, probably you are looking at very overly projected number here or very low projected number here. Then that gives me very good sense. Then again, I go back to the team saying that, guys, I mean, are we over projecting somewhere? Are we under projecting somewhere? Then it gives a very good perception to the team. They're saying that, we are actually going in a balanced way.
You're able to calibrate.
Correct. So that is one thing that I go to him. Second thing is the age that I'm in, right? I mean, how many of them, see, to pull the kind of faculty, see, end of the day, our flavor is that what kind of faculties are actually delivering our program. Generally, if at all I bring the academicians, they need to have at least 15-20 years of experience. And I still remember, right? I mean, whenever I meet someone in some networking events and then I say that I run Bower School, firstly, you yourself are like some MBA age. You are running some business school. Not many people can actually believe the scale in it unless they know me, unless they come to our campus, unless they see the setup. But if MSR is there, right, it is a very done deal for us, right? I mean, if at all he's saying that someone to go and teach, then it is done. So I go to him whenever I need to have very big meetings, in the sense, I mean, if at all I need to onboard some academic advisors, the word from MSR is very easier. So it saves a lot of time for us in establishing the validation or say establishing the brand and all. It takes a lot of effort.
Nice. So, MSR, that is from his side. It's a very nice way of utilizing the strengths you bring in. But what is that accommodation you have to make to, maybe if I have to use the word, to put up with all his tantrums and
No, so first of all, Pavan doesn't throw any tantrums. No, so I think, see, two parts, right? First thing is, as an advisor, uh, it's easy to give advice, okay? Advice is, plentiful, available, given. But I think you ought to, because I'm reasonably involved in I spend time, I understand context, I understand situations, I understand where we are, what we are trying to do, etc. So the way I see it is that I have to be able to show both sides of the mirror, one part. But ultimately, uh, you know, sometimes and rarely, and I think Pawan can validate what I'm saying. Um, rarely, if ever, would I say, listen, don't do this, don't do that, or do this, don't do that, because it's his business. He's building it ground up, etc. Our role is to see where one can support, right? And as I said, give input, give a perspective, give some insight, ask, look at different angles to the same issue. But final call is his. Okay. And what may have worked, let's say, during my journey, may or may not work. The same thing may or may not work in the current situation and context. So you have to be respectful of that. That as he said, it's a lonely place as a single founder. So your role is to see whatever we can do. I mean, whatever I can do to ensure that his hands are you know uh, strengthened. How do we bring good people together? How do we ensure we stay focused on the purpose for which Bower was created,
Conceptualize.
and how do we ensure that we balance the long term and the short term? How do we ensure that we can build an institution? Yeah. So those are some of the things, and how do we ensure certain core values? Because here we are talking about really young people, and they are coming to us with hope. And whatever we do, we must ensure that their expectations, to the extent we can, keep getting, keep getting met.
Fulfilled, yeah. No, I think that's a beautiful thing, and I'm extremely happy to have both of you. I wish you the very best for the journey on Bower. It's something remarkable what you people have conceptualized, and especially Pavan, what you have tried to put that foot forward. Because let me remind you that you are taking on the mites of the universities and institutions who kept on trying to do things, but for whatever reason could not implement it or execute it. But you have taken it up and you're trying to do it. And I know for a fact what is happening at Bower, the programs which you are trying to bring out from your stable. So I wish you the best, the good journey ahead. And MSR, with you by his side and with your advice and mentoring, I'm sure the industry will converge at Bower and will add value to those young, impressionable minds. At the Legacy podcast or the Legacy Blueprint, it's always the journey of growing people, building businesses, and leaving a mark. What we saw today when you shared about the purpose, the way you paraphrased the whole uh, contributions of different people who built you to do what you are doing, and how you are growing one business after the other, both of you. I mean, you have been successful entrepreneur in your own right. You are now person who is embarking on that journey, or maybe I'll say you are in that journey already and you're going from one post to another. That, and in this entire endeavor, you are leaving a mark on people around you. Let me also tell you, to conclude, that you may know these set of peoples whom you are impacting, but equal number of people are there whom you don't know who are getting impacted. That's the leaving the mark. So legacy is not about the brand and the kind of market capitalization. That's all there. That's a measure to do it. But it's also about how you deal with people and with processes and with your own intention on a daily basis. So once again, thank you so much for being on this particular podcast, and I really look forward for your journey together.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the invite.
Thank you.